I remember the exact moment I began to spiral. It was a grey Thursday afternoon, the kind where the sky forgets to care and the hours pass like molasses. I was sitting in my car outside my apartment, staring blankly at the steering wheel, paralyzed by the overwhelming thought that I was wasting my life. At 28, I had checked all the right boxes: college degree, decent job, an apartment I could afford. Yet something felt hollow, like I was floating in someone else's dream. I had ambition, yes, but no map. Energy, but no direction. That's when I met Simon. Simon wasn't flashy. He didn't wear a suit or carry himself like a guru, but he had a quiet gravity, the kind of calm that makes you listen without knowing why. We met at a local community event, a leadership workshop I'd attended on a whim. I remember sharing, almost sheepishly, that I felt lost. He nodded slowly and said, "Everyone gets lost. What matters is who helps you find your way." That was just the beginning. From there, he led me with powerful, life-changing steps that carved a lasting path toward true success. And it wasn't just my success, it became a triumph for anyone willing to commit themselves to follow guidance. Guidance from those who have lived through challenges, tested experiences, and uncovered the true principles of success. Step 1. Creating clarity through conversation. Our first few talks weren't about big breakthroughs. They were about unpacking the clutter in my head. Simon asked questions no one had asked me before. What excites you? What makes you forget time? What would you do if fear wasn't a factor? Those questions didn't solve everything, but they sparked something. Through our conversations, I started to realize that clarity doesn't come from thinking harder. It comes from speaking honestly. Simon shared the story of Oprah Winfrey. As a young TV anchor, she was advised by a mentor to stop trying to be someone else and instead lean into her natural empathy and authenticity. That advice shaped her into one of the most influential figures in media. After following the guidance of her mentor named Maya Angelou, the renowned author, poet, and activist. Step 2. Building confidence through small wins. Simon had a saying, "Confidence isn't a lightning bolt, it's a campfire. You build it stick by stick." He challenged me to take small actions that aligned with the clarity I was discovering. I wanted to write, so he dared me to write a blog post, just one. I remember hitting publish and then instantly regretting it. But to my surprise, a few friends messaged me. They resonated, they encouraged. That one post led to another. Simon pointed to J.K. Rowling, who began writing Harry Potter as a struggling single mum, scribbling in between job interviews. Her first step wasn't publishing, it was daring to write despite self-doubt. Step 3. Listening to someone who's been there. Simon told me something that stuck. Wisdom is borrowed before it's earned. He explained that a mentor isn't someone who solves your problems, but someone who helps you see them differently. We started meeting weekly, over coffee or walks. And in each session, he didn't lecture, he shared stories. Stories of his own failures, missteps, and how he turned them around. One day, he told me about Howard Schultz, the man behind Starbucks. Schultz grew up in public housing in Brooklyn and saw the struggles of a working-class family firsthand. What shaped him wasn't just ambition, it was mentorship. While working for a Swedish kitchenware company, Schultz visited Italy and discovered the coffee culture that would later inspire Starbucks. But it was the guidance and belief of mentors and investors who saw his vision that helped him turn an idea into a global brand. Every success story has a hidden network of mentors, Simon said. You need people who believe in you before the world does. That's when I realized mentorship isn't about being told what to do, it's about seeing what's possible. Step 4. Learning from mistakes without shame. A few months in, I hit a wall. A piece I wrote received criticism. Not cruel, but honest. It hurt. I began to spiral again, thinking maybe I wasn't cut out for this. Simon's response, he smiled and said, "Good. Now you're learning." He told me about Thomas Edison, who failed thousands of times before inventing the light bulb. Edison reportedly said, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." Simon taught me that feedback isn't a verdict, it's a mirror. The goal isn't to avoid mistakes, it's to learn faster from them. We created a system where I'd reflect after every piece I wrote. What worked? What didn't? What will I try next time? Step 5. Expanding vision by seeing beyond yourself. One of the most profound things Simon did was take me to volunteer at a local youth center. At first, I didn't see the connection, but mentoring kids who reminded me of myself cracked something open in me. You see yourself differently when you help someone else, Simon said. He shared the story of Nelson Mandela, who spent 27 years in prison yet came out not bitter, but committed to lifting others. Service expands your vision, Simon told me. It gives your struggle context. Through mentoring, I saw my progress mirrored in others. I realized growth isn't just about achievement, it's about impact. Step 6. Finding strength in setbacks. 6 months in, I lost my job. The company downsized, and I was one of the cuts. I panicked. All the old fear and self-doubt came rushing back. Simon didn't try to fix it. He sat with me in silence for a while and then said, "Maybe this is a push, not a punishment." He told me about Colonel Sanders, who was rejected over 1,000 times before someone agreed to franchise his fried chicken recipe and eventually build KFC. Setbacks aren't roadblocks, Simon said. They're reroutes. With his encouragement, I used the downtime to build a personal website, start freelancing, and take a writing course. I wasn't just surviving, I was starting to build a new lane. Step 7. Embracing accountability and discipline. One of the most transformative shifts came when Simon introduced me to an accountability system. Every Sunday, I'd send him a short email. What I accomplished, what I learned, and what I was aiming for next. It wasn't about pressure, it was about rhythm. Simon shared how David Goggins pushed his limits daily, running ultramarathons and training relentlessly, often in pain and exhaustion. Discipline isn't punishment, he told me. It's a vote for your future. With accountability, I didn't just dream, I executed. Step 8. Becoming a mentor to others. As weeks turned into months, I realized something had changed. Not just in my habits or my mindset, but in how I saw myself. I was no longer the person constantly seeking answers. I had become someone who could offer a few. Simon noticed it before I did. One evening, over tea, he leaned back and smiled. "You know," he said, "the final step of learning is teaching. When you mentor someone, you not only solidify your growth, you multiply it." That thought lingered. Soon after, I met Arya, 19-year-old volunteer who reminded me so much of myself. She had the same questions, the same silent insecurities. She once asked me, "How do you even start figuring life out?" I didn't have all the answers, but I had stories. I had lessons passed down from Simon, from my setbacks, from my small wins, and I shared them not as an expert, but as someone just a few steps ahead. What surprised me most was how fulfilling it felt. Every time Arya had a breakthrough, I felt one too. The act of guiding her reminded me of the values I now lived by: consistency, clarity, and kindness. And in helping her navigate her path, I rediscovered the beauty of my own. Simon later introduced me to the story of Dr. Tererai Trent, a Zimbabwean woman who overcame poverty and gender barriers to earn a PhD in the US. She once said, "When you empower a woman, you empower a community." What stood out to me was this. After achieving her academic success, Dr. Trent returned to her village to build schools for others. She believed her dreams were never just for herself, they were meant to serve others. That stuck with me. Our growth is not complete until it becomes someone else's starting point. Mentorship is never about being perfect, it's about being present. It's about saying, "I've been there too," and extending a hand. In that moment, your pain becomes purpose, your journey becomes a map, and most of all, it reminds you that you're no longer just the student. You've become the guide. Conclusion: a quiet revolution. Looking back now, I can trace the line from that grey afternoon in my car to the man I've become. I didn't need a map, I needed a mirror. Someone who saw not just who I was, but who I could be. Mentorship didn't fix me, it awakened me. It gave me clarity, courage, resilience, purpose, and ultimately, joy. Simon didn't just guide me, he changed me. And now, I carry that light forward, one conversation at a time. Be consistent.